Hey guys, HackerSploit here, back again with another video, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to set up an SSH server on your Kali operating system or on any penetration distribution that you have. Now this is going to be part of a larger series where I answer all your questions in video form, and this is one of the most popularly or the most asked questions on the channel, and that is how to set up SSH on Kali so that you can access it from another computer. You get the idea, the whole purpose of SSH. So essentially setting up your box so that you can access it remotely. That's the primary question here. Now this is extremely simple, but I get how it can be confusing because many of you essentially know that Kali has an open SSH server instance running on it or installed on it, and once you start the service, you essentially try and log in via SSH and you find out that you can't for some reason, and that's the purpose of this video, to clarify everything in regards to setting up an SSH server on your Kali OS. Alright, so without further ado, let's get started. Now, as I mentioned, by default, Kali comes with OpenSSH installed. Alright, so you don't have to install any SSH server on here. But if you do find yourself in a situation where you don't have it, it really is very simple to install. So we use the aptitude package manager. So sudo apt-get install and OpenSSH. And we're installing the server because we are setting this up. We're going to be setting up the service on this box, and we're going to be connecting to it. Alright, so you just hit enter, and since I already have it installed, it's going to check for an update, and if there is an update, it's going to install it for me, but there isn't, so you can see we don't have anything to update or upgrade. Alright, so that you need to make sure you have set up. Now, if you already have misconfigured it, which is very common for those of you who are first time beginners to Kali Linux, you may have misconfigured your configuration file. If you want to reconfigure the package, you can either remove the OpenSSH instance, or you can reconfigure the packages I just mentioned earlier. And you can do this using the Debian package manager. So dpkg, and we use the reconfigure, and then you specify the package name. So dpkg reconfigure, and the package name in this case is OpenSSH, and that is the server instance. Alright, so once you hit enter, it's going to reconfigure it for you. In my case, this is the first time I'm setting up an SSH server, or I'm configuring it on this machine, so I don't need to do any of that. That was just a little quick tip in case you've misconfigured your configuration. Alright, so now we essentially have to configure the Sshd configuration file, which is available under the following directory. So let me just list all the files in the etc ssh folder right over here. You can see we have the Sshd configuration file, and that's primarily what we want to edit and configure so that we can have proper access and access that we want, or a customized access, so to speak. Alright, so we're going to use the Nano Editor. So we want to browse to that directory, or we want to essentially specify the directory of the file. So SSH and the Sshd config file right over here, and we hit enter. And as you can see, this is a system or a system-wide configuration file where you can customize the SSH options right over here. So if you wanted to change the default port that it runs on, you can, by the way, these are all commented, which means they're going to stick to the default settings here. If you do want to configure it, let's say I wanted to, configure the SSH port on a different port number. So I could say, port 1234, but of course, I'm not going to do that. I want to leave everything as it is. So what I'm going to do is, let me just comment that back again. And when we talk about other options that you can configure, I'm not really going to be talking about the other things that you can configure, but really the most important bits here. So when you talk about logging, you can also log all the information or all the changes made, via SSH. So that's another good thing to have enabled if you're setting this up, not really as a pen testing distribution, but for all of the system admins out there, this is a very good option to have as well. What we want to look at is the authentication aspect, or the authentication section right over here. So this is where you essentially control how a user or how a client will get authenticated to the server, to the SSH server. So you can see you have a login grace time of 2 minutes. You can leave that to what it is, or you can change it if you want. What we want to change is we want to disable permit root login, which we want to enable now. So we're going to hit yes, and that is going to enable us to log in as root. Now, of course, you can create other users that do or do not have root privileges, and that's up to you, and you can use that as well. We have the max authentication try. So if you are trying any rate limiting techniques, then you can also edit them right over here, and you also have max sessions right over here. So once that is done, you then want to hit Ctrl+O. Now, of course, I'm not going to be covering everything in regards to configuring the SSH server. You can go through it. It is pretty much self-explanatory. All right, so I'm just going to hit Ctrl+O and hit enter to save the file. And now we need to essentially start, restart, or stop the service depending on what you want to do. So you can use the service manager to start the service. I have mine stopped, so I'm going to say service SSH start, and we're going to start that right now, and we give that a few seconds to start. And that means now we have the SSH service running on port 22 on this operating system or on this box. If you want to stop it, it's very simple. Just follow the following syntax and hit stop. All right, and that means you don't have SSH running anymore. All right, fantastic. So we have SSH running. Let me just check the local IP of this box right over here, and we can see it's running on 192.168.1.101. So I'm just going to copy that, and let me just go to my Windows operating system here, and I'm going to be using PuTTY to essentially connect to the box remotely. So I'm just going to type in the IP right over there. The port is correctly configured, and I'm using SSH as my protocol. I'm going to hit open, and it's going to ask me to log in, and I'm going to prompt me for the username. In this case, I'm logging in as root, and we have permitted a root login. So I'm going to enter the password now that I had for my account, and voila, we are logged in as the default root user on Kali. And I can browse to my directory here, and I have all my files here, sorry, and I can then perform my operations via SSH. So this is how to set up an SSH server on your box, on your penetration testing box for remote access. And you can then configure it to run, to essentially connect to the external networks, and you can then connect to it remotely if you set it up correctly via port forwarding, etc. That's something I'll also look at as I have covered it before. That being said, that's going to be it for this video. If you like this video or you like this style of videos, let me know in the comment section. You can also leave a like if this video helped you, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Peace.